Welcome to For Book's Sake with Heather Roberts.
And Veronica Adams, and all the funny little things you can't see before we hit the
I
record button.
know. The thing moves. The little button for the noise, like our little intro song, moves after I hit record. And it gives you like a countdown. I know everybody at home cares so much about this. But so then I always look confused because I'm like, where's the button?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
But
goodness.
welcome, everybody. Today,
Yes.
our topic is tropes. We're going to be
Woo!
talking about tropes and probably a little bit about the Amazon page front as well, what you
Yep.
should be looking at. Because
Those two things tie in together
yeah,
so seamlessly that it's kind of a combined conversation.
they go hand in hand.
Totally.
And so tropes are different than genres. Let's have
Yes.
that
Yes.
conversation.
And I think maybe this comes off a little bit. This seems like a basic thing, right? Like
Yeah.
if you have been writing for a while, you should have a pretty good grasp of genre. You should definitely have a good grasp of genre, but also, trope. Now, if you're relatively new to writing or new to marketing, maybe you know genre, but you haven't really thought too much about tropes. So,
And yeah, I think sometimes in the beginning, if somebody doesn't have a lot of experience doing this,
yeah,
or they could confuse some of the two because they are often talked about in the same sentences. So,
absolutely.
genre or a subgenre being like romance, and then a subgenre of romance could be small town romance or
There you
romantic
go.
suspense or
Hmm.
something like that. But a trope, coincidentally, could also be small town romance.
It could
So,
actually.
and I think that's where sometimes it gets confused because people are like, well, wait a second. But you're really talking about it in a different way.
Mhm.
Usually when you're talking about genre, at least in my brain goes to categorization. There we go.
Yes. Yes.
Categories and things like that, which we've briefly talked about before. But you're talking about where would the type of book it is.
Right. On what shelf in the bookstore will your book be sold? Are you in the
Correct.
section with thrillers? Are you in the
Yes.
romance section? Are you in the self-help section? I mean, that's a nonfiction thing right there. I mean, let's start fiction or nonfiction, right? And
Right.
then
And then you
filter
pare
all the way
down from
down.
there. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Tropes
Yeah.
have to do with the story itself. So when
Yes.
you're talking about a trope, you're talking about the content of the story, not just the overall content, like, where would you put it on a bookshelf?
Right.
It could be that a contemporary romance, which is the genre, has a variety of different tropes in it. Could have
Yes.
you know, a contemporary romance could have a single dad in it, and that could be placed on the shelf right next to a contemporary romance that is a fake fiance romance,
There
just
you go.
off the top of my head.
Mhm. Right. Tropes are like your plot devices. What are the
Yes.
predictable things, the reusable themes, the recyclable devices that are available to you in moving your story forward? So
Yes.
you got that contemporary romance setting, but perhaps your entire story is about a couple getting together, enemies to lovers, right? They
Yes.
start out hating each other, and by the end of the book, they are madly in love. That's a personal favorite.
Is it? You love
Oh
that
yeah,
one?
I
Okay.
love an enemies to lovers. I also love like falling for the boss type romances.
Do
Like
you?
when
You love the
oh
office
yeah,
romances.
I am so yeah yeah
I had no
yeah. That's
idea. See, look, I'm
that's a
learning
thing for me,
things. I didn't know.
right? How did you not know
I
that?
don't know, but I did not
Yeah,
know that. Okay.
yeah. Office romance, great, but specifically falling for the boss, right? Like if they're just
Mm.
coworkers, it's good. If it's heroine and the boss, or maybe the heroine is the boss and it's the employee who's the hero,
Oh, even
yes,
better.
please.
Even
Yeah.
better.
Give me
Okay.
all the boss romances.
All right. All right. I'm a sucker for small town romance.
I know.
It
I
is.
know. Oh my. You guys have no idea how excited this one was when Virgin River became a Netflix
Oh
series.
yes, I know. And it's I know I live in Vermont. I did not move to Vermont because of my love for Vermont small town romances. But I do love Vermont small town romances. I think I've read all of the ones in existence.
Uh-huh.
If they do not, let me know. Let me know your favorite because I
Right.
am pretty
Right.
sure I've read it.
Right.
And ironically, when I first moved here too, I was like, there's just so many little plot devices of my little town
Hmm.
that easily could be turned. I was like, plot bunny, plot bunny. Like, the small town corner store, the owner was retiring and the new owner took over. And she was, she's single and has a dog and could easily,
You're not
find
just writing
someone.
the book, you're also writing the Hallmark screenplay while
I
you
know.
talk about this.
But
Like, it's
like,
perfect.
and this like is real that exists and
Hmm.
it's just you know it's the
My
little
quaint
town.
New England life.
Yes. So these things do happen in real life.
Oh.
Yeah, and I could easily see somebody moving in from the big town that
Mhm.
a billionaire who moves anyway. I'm just
Yep.
writing a book now. But these are things, that is a trope. Right? That is a trope that I could read 100 times over with different characters and different plot devices
Yeah.
and still love them all. So, and just like, 50 Shades of Grey, very tropey. Tons of
Yes.
tropes in there. Billionaire romance trope.
Yes.
You have the virgin heroine trope,
Yes.
BDSM kink trope, the tortured hero who has some sort of past something trope.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a lot of, it was very trope heavy, which is also why people responded well to it because people love these tropes. And also Crossfire series. That's why if you were reading the Crossfire series after 50 Shades and you're like, well, this feels reminiscent, it is. That's why.
What a
It's,
throwback.
I
Gideon
know, I
and
know.
Ava. Oh, swoon.
I love Gideon. What
I
can
know.
I say?
I
He's
know.
one of my favorites.
Like a top five book boyfriend.
Top five for sure. For sure. So is Damien from Jay Kenner's
You're
series.
pulling out all the
I know.
classics
These are the
now.
OGs. If you have not read these books, you need to go back to the beginning. It was I love yes, I love Damien Stark, the Stark novels
Mhm.
with Jay
Yes.
Kenner. I loved all of those. Also very trope similar with 50 Shades and the similar tropes
Mhm.
that it has in there, but totally different story.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's a lot of tropes. So now that you figured out what are tropes, and we could go, I mean, if you Google tropes, like especially romance tropes, there's lists abound.
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
200 tropes,
right.
150 tropes, 99 tropes, the top 20 romance tropes. Like, if you're really unfamiliar, there are resources out there. A quick Google will help you
Correct.
see more granularly what a trope actually is for purposes of marketing. Maybe not
Yes.
necessarily for creative development and writing. Your editor may take issue with some of the stuff we're talking about, but for marketing
Yeah,
purposes.
this is marketing purposes, is the
Mhm.
lens in which we are viewing this from.
Right.
So when we're thinking about tropes, we're thinking about keywords and search terms and what are people
Yes.
searching for, what are
How to
popular
set
in that
reader
regard.
expectations. What
Yes,
can you pull from your manuscript that you can tell readers that they are going to experience?
correct. So that is a lot of the tropey stuff that is very, and tropes have become very popular to use for
Yes.
marketing in the past year or so.
So hot right now.
Which, yeah, they're so hot right now. But you'll see the little graphics with the book and then all of
Mhm.
the words around it that are pointing at the book and they're highlighting the tropes that are in
That's
the
right.
book or
Mhm.
other description, maybe the genre that it's in or
Yeah.
whatever, and they include that in there as well. But they're doing that because that's what people are looking for right now. They want to be told right up front, what is this book? Is it a surprise baby book? Is it
Right.
a single dad book? Is it you know, fake fiance book? Is it a fake
the
marriage book?
easiest the easiest way to make the sale is to be very clear about what itch you're going to scratch for the reader, because the
Right.
reader is like, oh, I am crave it's like when you want something specific to eat. I
Yeah,
want something specific to read. I am looking for possessive hero, touch her and you die, damsel in distress.
correct.
And I'm looking through marketing material, or I am browsing on Amazon or wherever I buy books. I use Amazon just because of their market share.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the majority of people are still buying books on Amazon, which is
Yeah.
fine. I mean,
It's fine.
it's
I mean,
easy.
I do too.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying I
Yeah,
don't.
no, I
Just
know.
do try to diversify.
Yes.
But yeah, I'm looking for something specific.
Yeah.
And I want you as the author to tell me that you can actually meet that need. You can scratch that itch. You can give me the adventure I'm looking for.
Yeah, I mean, think about it like if you had a bunch of chips in the cabinet and they were all unlabeled and you grabbed a chip bag and you opened it and you were craving something salty and you opened a bag of Cheetos,
Right?
you're going to be disappointed. And so that's why they have labels.
Yep.
And it's the same thing. You got to, advertise what's inside. What is
Right.
inside of that book and tell your reader what it is. And that, yeah, it goes back to expectations for sure. But how can you use that? So when in the beginning, I was talking about Amazon, your Amazon storefront page.
Yes.
And is why this conversation goes hand in hand because on your Amazon page, you have the opportunity to put the tropes in a variety of places. A lot of people will make that essentially the subtitle
Hmm.
and put it. That's why you'll see enemies to lovers, single dad romance next to the title of the book, for
Right.
example,
Right.
because one, that's going to populate in search term results better than if you hide it somewhere else. If you put it right up front, people know exactly what it is, and it's also going to populate in search term results.
Absolutely.
And it's putting it right out there. People know exactly what it is, and I actually love that the popularity has come back for that to be put there. There was a time where that was very popular, and then it became less popular, and people started taking it away. And I'm like, why? No, bring it back. For me personally,
Right.
um,
Me as the book
me
consumer,
as the
not
book
just marketing
consumer,
folks. Right.
yes, I was like, bring it back. But yeah, so that's one place to put it. You can also highlight the tropes in your blurb.
Absolutely.
So when you're writing your blurb, you're not going to be like, saying it as straight out as you would in the subtitle, but you're going to make sure that it's highlighted what those
Oh,
those are
yeah.
in your blurb.
I actually really like the front facing approach of at the end of the blurb, putting in
Yeah,
like a
at the
little
end of the blurb, sure.
editorial note or publisher's note that's
Yeah.
like, XYZ book is a steamy, standalone fantasy romance with like whatever your hero trope is, whatever your heroine trope is, whatever your story arc trope is, and there is a guaranteed happily ever after or
Yes.
whatever. I
I love
love
that.
those editorial notes.
Yeah, no, I
Give them
love that too.
give them to me.
Give them to me for sure. I love that too. Like at the end of the blurb.
At the very end of the blurb.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just saying don't put it like straight out in the front of the blurb. You want to
Oh yeah, no, no, you're not going to want to lead with it.
yeah. Yeah. But you also want your blurb to highlight these tropes too. So
Yes.
like for example, you might say like hero is a widow that now is taking
Mhm.
care of his X-year-old child and
Right.
has to move to blank small town, like so you're
Right.
not saying it like in,
Right.
but you're saying it.
Or hero is a wolf shifter and the best friend's brother
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like
You're
from a
including the words.
right from an enemy pack or something. Like you
Yes,
throw those words in there to trigger your readers to think about the tropes
correct.
specifically. Yeah,
Yes. You're just not like putting them all in one string of words
exactly.
until the bottom or the top.
Hmm.
But yeah, you want it to be pretty clear as to what the book is. Sometimes there was a period of time where everybody wanted the blurbs to be very, very vague. And like, do you remember that? Like when
Yes.
everything was super vague, and I
Yes.
I was like, okay, that's fine. I didn't hate that because I personally like sometimes going into a book blind,
Hmm.
but I like this way a lot better. I just think it's more effective marketing
Yeah.
when you're being secretive about the contents of the book. It can sometimes go against you.
Hmm.
So you want to be out there. Like, for example, with Rebecca Yarros's most recent, you know, incredible release, The Fourth Wing.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's about dragons. Everyone knows that it's essentially can't even like Divergent meets, dragons meet like, and there's lots of tropes in
Right.
there. So if you liked this book, you're going to like that book, sort of thing. And you know what it is before you start reading it. And a lot of people really enjoy that. I love the dragons. Dragons are great. I loved that book. It was very good. It definitely gave me a book hangover. Was not
Yeah.
expecting to like it. I am not usually a fantasy reader.
I
And
am not at all. Like,
yeah,
and it's nothing against the genre.
no.
It's just never been something that I connected with. I'm just not a fantasy person, I guess. So like,
Fantasies, yeah, usually they're very heavy world building, which I understand is necessary for the fantasy genre. I,
yeah.
I understand that is necessary.
And there are a lot of authors out there who are ridiculously talented at that type of writing.
Correct. It's just not my personal jam. Like it's not
Right.
something I'm going to personally go and like
I read
binge
them
through.
for business purposes,
Yes.
but like if I'm just reading for pleasure, I'm very unlikely to pick up a
That
fantasy just for
yes,
me.
exactly. And I can, you recognize the good world building, the
Hmm.
world
Sure.
building that needs help and all of
Sure.
that. But what I liked about Fourth Wing particularly, and the reason I think it's very successful is that it's light on the world building. I
Yeah.
don't mean that in that it doesn't have world building. It certainly does, but it's not to the level that a lot of fantasy
It's not
books.
punching you in the face the way a lot of fantasy novels do.
Yes, it's not. And so I think some fantasy readers who are used to that, and that is
Mhm.
a critique that I've seen some that it's, very light on the world building, like it's a critique, which is why reviews are important. Because to me,
Yes.
as a
That's actually a
consumer,
bonus.
that's a bonus. I'm like, oh, I'm in
Right.
one click.
Right. That's as a side note, that's why I love to try and spin those like low rating reviews and the negative reviews because sometimes, one person's yuck is another person's yum. Like, you didn't
100%.
like it because of that. Guess what? I'm the kind of person who likes that. I'm
Yeah.
going to buy this.
Right.
Yeah.
So you always have to remember that reviews are for readers. And that's
That's right.
why, because some person who's going to hate that one thing, there's
Yeah.
another that will love it. And yeah, so you got to just put it out there of what the book is. And reviews do sometimes help with that. If the packaging is a little vague,
Hmm.
I will go to the reviews to find out what the tropes are, what's
Yes.
in, what's inside and all of
Girl, I have even read reviews to find out the tropes for clients' books. Like,
that.
no, I'm serious. I am dead serious.
I'm
Okay, so
serious. If
like,
I can't tell from the blurb, if I'm doing a blurb review and I
right,
can't figure it out, I'll go to the
right,
reviews. Yeah.
yes, and I will see what readers had to say about it, like what they pulled from it. Their experience was that this was an XYZ trope novel.
Yes.
Great, and that's not to like critique the client necessarily. It's usually to save time because I can, send a quick message. I don't have time to read every book every client has
No.
ever
Oh,
written.
no.
So,
We'd be
in
reading
doing
all the
my
time.
research for whatever project we're working on, for whatever title, whether it's front list, back list, or, whatever, yeah, looking at the reviews sometimes is super helpful just to get other readers' feedback.
Yeah. Well, and usually we're doing that. For example, I'm reviewing blurbs for a
Mhm.
client at this very moment to either revamp them, to
Yeah.
pull those tropes out and to highlight
Hmm.
them and to do what we're talking about right now to figure out are the blurbs proper or I'm sorry, are the tropes properly represented in the blurbs?
Right.
Is a reader going to understand what this book is
Hmm.
about? And that's some of the work that I'm doing right now for a
Yeah.
client is giving
Yep.
that sort of overview and
Hmm.
it's
I
it can
just
be
recently
lengthy.
did it myself to do a set of A+ content graphics for display on Amazon for someone.
Hmm.
So, going back to where you can list your tropes on Amazon, you can actually put them actively in your A+ content on your buy pages.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting, all of the different ways that you can do this because on Amazon we've talked before. You get 3 categories to choose
Right.
from, and then you get 7 keywords. So the keywords you can start putting the tropes in there too. You want to trigger as many points in the Zon and on other
Mhm.
platforms. You get to put these keywords in there as well if you're wide. uh, you want to trigger as many points for reader search terms that could possibly come up that you are allowed to, put in there. So
Yes.
You want to make sure that readers know what your book is about. So, absolutely. I don't know. I think that's pretty much the topic of tropes. I mean, we could talk about tropes forever.
Sure. I
And
mean, like about the individual tropes or
yeah,
about groups of tropes. Yeah.
but that's sort of the overview nitty-gritty of
Yeah.
what are tropes about and how you can
How can
incorporate
you
them.
use them to help you?
Yes.
It's not just the story you're telling. These are things that you can use as marketing tools.
Correct. And that's the
Mhm.
biggest thing. How can you use what you already have? And
Sure.
if you're an author and you don't want to, pay someone to do the work for you, you can go back and look at your old blurbs and
Yep.
see, okay, maybe I should refresh this because I really
Mhm.
didn't highlight the tropes at all. I
Yep.
didn't say what anything was about. Maybe I should look at my keywords and give another overview to that. And there's different programs that are out there that allow you to see what are popular tropes right now, what's selling, so you can look those different software
Mhm.
programs up and utilize them to find out,
Right.
if you are writing a frontlist book, if you want to sort of try to write to market and get something out quickly, what's popping off right now.
Or if you have a backlist book that you can put on sale or
Yes.
submit for a BookBub feature deal or just advertise at full price.
And
You know,
use these
the
tropes
trope for
in
that
your
book is popular right
advertising.
now.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Put them in your ad creative somewhere.
Right.
Use them in your targeting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Veronica, do you have an evergreen marketing tip for us this week?
Prepared this week. I did it. I did it. I didn't forget.
Oh my God.
Anyone listening is probably like, what is she talking about? I make one mistake and it sticks with me
Yeah, go
forever.
back a couple episodes. You'll figure it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Somebody call my therapist. I need to
Mm.
talk to her about that. my, my evergreen marketing tip this week is to specialize and to have a brand focus as much as you can. Okay. And I thought this dovetailed with tropes really well,
Yeah.
in that you're pulling out from tropes the devices that readers can count on when they read your book. When you specialize and have a brand focus, you are also going to set those reader expectations the same way, that this is exactly the kind of
Yes.
story that they can expect from you, the kind of the genre, the subgenres, the tropes that you commonly write, the themes. Are you more of a light and fluffy insta love romance novelist, or are
hmm
you like a dark and taboo, gritty romantic suspense, romantic thriller author? So, always making sure that you are looking at your brand and trying to specialize in just a few subgenres, I think, is my evergreen marketing tip.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And let me add on to that. If you want to dabble in writing in different genres or subgenres that don't really fit well together, consider having multiple brands for doing that, so that
Yes.
each brand can specialize and so that you
And they don't
have
have to be a secret.
exactly.
They don't need
You
to be
can
a
just be like,
secret.
hey, this pen name writes the light and fluffy stuff. Hey, this
Yeah.
pen name writes the darker taboo stuff.
Right.
And you can be totally transparent about the fact that you are the same author writing in both of those pseudonyms, under both of those
It
pseudonyms.
just
But
really helps with if somebody unknown to you is
mhm,
picking up a book for the first time and
right.
they've never read any of your pen names and you only have one and then they go to try to read your other work and they're
Yes.
surprised because they're like, "Oh, this isn't what at all. This isn't
Mhm,
what I thought it was going to be."
right.
That's where the problem comes into play. So having that sort of separation and different pen names is very useful. And you'll find many authors have multiple pen names. It is
That's true.
completely common
Mhm.
for authors to have
And you
multiple pen
may
names.
you may also see authors whose back catalogs include books that kind of make you scratch your head a little bit because they didn't find their niche.
Yes.
They didn't find the area they wanted to specialize in until they were several books into their career.
Yeah.
And I've worked with many authors who have a chunk of books in their back catalog. It may be two, it may be 20.
Right.
That they don't even really want to advertise or promote because those books are so unrepresentative of the work that they're doing now.
Yes. Yeah. And they're like, "What do I do with these?" And we're like, "Well, there's options. There's options." But that's a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah, for sure. We could do a whole episode on that.
yes, what do you do with those leftover backlist books that no longer fit your brand?
Yeah,
What do we do with
exactly.
those?
Exactly.
But yeah, that happens very frequently. So,
So consider trying to hone your focus and specializing in just a few related subgenres of your overarching genre
exactly.
per pen name.
Yes. Love it. Well, thank you, Veronica. That's a great
Yes.
tip this week.
Thank you.
And we're gonna have a fairly average length episode this week. I mean,
You
last
mean we're
week,
not talking for an
oh my
hour?
God. We just got there was a lot to cover. Okay, there's a lot to
Girl,
cover.
I know.
So we'll give you a reprieve. So this week
Yes.
is a little
We're
shorter.
making up for last week.
Yes. But until next time, this is For Book's Sake from 1852 Media. Such a bop.